Hey lovelies, once again you're welcome back to the channel. So thanks for the love and the support. And now we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful gown with this lower ruffle in this tutorial. So let's get right into it. So this is material I'm going to be using for it. It is a lacra, plain lacra, or you can also call it foam material. It's just a single layer of foam material. Then these are other materials I'm going to be using as well for this. So now let's get right into it. If you've not subscribed to the channel, please do well to subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Now we're going to be using this fabric in the stretchy area. As you can see that this part is really stretchy, so we're going to be using the material flowing with the stretchy part of the fabric so that it can fit perfectly into the body. Like we're using it like a bodycon material. So if you use it in the other way that is not stretchy, then that means you have to add your normal allowance to this. But for this, I'm not going to be adding my total allowance. Now let's just go ahead to fold what we are going to be needing. It will be clear in no time. So my client actually wanted it to have an half length measurement, so we're not going to be cutting it the way it is on that video. So the first thing we're going to be doing is to cut the half length. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to measure using my bust measurement. That is, if I'm cutting the half length, the widest part of my upper body should be my bust. So I'm going to be using that to fold my fabric. Remember that I'm not going to be adding any allowance at all to this fabric since I'm cutting towards the stretchy area. So what I'm going to do now is I'll keep folding till I get the measurement of my bust. That is my bust divided by 4. So I'm working with a bust of 36 divided by 4, which will give me 9 inch. So what I'm going to do is I'll fold the fabric using 9 inch, exactly my 9 inch. Then now let's go ahead to draft out our half length. So now we'll work on the shoulder first. If you have been following this channel, this shouldn't be new, but still let's go ahead and work on it in case for our new subscribers. Alright, so now I'll mark my shoulder to chest line, which is on 8, shoulder to bust point on 10, then the shoulder to the half length is actually 15. So I'll be adding extra 1 inch allowance to this to use to join this together. So in total what I have there is 16. Remember that the half length is actually 15. I added extra 1 for the shoulder joining and then the waist joining, which will give me 16 in total. So now the first thing I will do is to mark out my 16. So the top of this fabric will serve as my starting point. So I already marked out my 16 inch. Now we're going to continue working on locating other points of our body. So from my chest point now, make sure I have my bust divided by 4 there. Then I'll connect it upwards. So what I have on that chest line is my shoulder measurement divided by 2. So she's working with the waist of 15 inch divided by 2, so I have 7.5. So on that point now I already marked my 7.5, which will serve as my shoulder line. I marked it on the chest line as well. So now go ahead now to mark my shoulder slope. And then for the neck measurement, it is a total neck measurement, so I'm going to be using 2.5 for the wideness and then 2 inch for the depth, so that it is not too low, then at the same time it is not too chunky. So what I use for the neck is 2.5 by 2. So the wideness is 2.5, then the depth, that is how deep it is just 2 inch. Now I'll connect my neck measurement like this. Now I'll make this for my neck measurement. I'll connect it to my shoulder slope. So I use about 1 inch for my shoulder slope on that part, so connect it like this. So once I'm done with this, I'll go ahead to measure what I have from my shoulder slope down to the chest line. Now I'll mark half of it, and then from that point I'll go in by another half inch. So this is the front. Then I'll connect it just as you can see me doing. Connect it to the first point, then use your armhole cuff to arrange a nice curve into your chest line. So on that chest line, you want to make sure you take your bust measurement. So remember that this will not have any allowance, so just use your chest line, measure your bust measurement on your chest line, then you connect it with your armhole cuff just like this. So this is what the armhole will look like. Now having done this, now we're just going to go ahead to take our waist measurement since our bust measurement is already on our chest line. So measure that, my waist measurement divided by 4, measure it, then I'll connect it to the chest line. Now another thing I'll go ahead to do is to confirm my under bust if the measurement I have on this clothes will be enough to work with my under bust. Although it is a stretchy material, it should actually fit in, but we still need to confirm all necessary measurements. Now for the shoulder to the under bust is 14 inch, so I'll make sure that I mark my 14 inch right there, then I confirm if my under bust, round under bust divided by 4 we still work for there. So it worked perfectly. So now we will go ahead to cut this out. Now the front half length is ready, so take your time to cut carefully so that you don't have the fabric moving here and there. You can also use your pin to hold it down so that it is well secured. Now when we are done cutting this, we are going to be using these to cut on our back. So the only difference between the front and the back will be the neck. The neck of the back will be higher, and then it will have a zipper allowance as well. So just go ahead to cut this out. So yeah, I'm going to be using 2-inch zipper allowance. Still, I want there to be enough allowance in this, so I'm using 2. You can also use 1 if you are sure of the measurement you've taken. So here, I'm going to just measure that I have the same neck measurement there. Then I'll be going down by 1 inch for the back. So I'm just making sure I have a straight line up there. Now once I'm done with that, I will just go down by 1 inch for the back. Now that is the difference between the front and the back. So for the front I went down by 2, but for the back I'm going up. I just went down by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it to my chest line, to my neck measurement rather, pardon me. So you can use your curve, and you can also go ahead to just use your hand to make a nice curve like this. So now we'll go ahead to cut this out. Now this is the only difference between the front and the back, the neck, as well as the 2-inch zipper allowance I added. So we'll use this as well to cut out for the back. So once again, be careful while you are cutting. So this is what I had after I was done cutting. Now for the back, I'm going to split it into 2. So this is the back and this is the front. Now the back will be opened into 2 for the zip to sit in. Right, so perfect. This is my front piece. Now my half length is ready. Now we're going to be working on the lower part. So before I start working on the lower part, I'll take note of what I have on the waist for the half length so that the waist is exactly the same. Then I will mark it on this part as well. Now this is me reading from my tape rule. The half length is actually 15, so I was reading from 15. Then I wanted to take the waist measurement on 23 and then the hip measurement rather on 23. So mark what I have on my waist divided by 4. I'll mark it there again. Then from that point now I'll mark my hip measurement. So your hip is usually 8 to 9 inch below your waistline. So that's what I'm just trying to confirm. So I had about 7, but I know I'm going to be joining the waist, so I decided to have about ½ inch so that it falls perfectly on 8.5. So I'll be using 8.5 for the hip of this, that is from the waist to the hip. Now also I'll be adding no allowance to this as well. So I'll just mark my hip rather divided by 4. I'll mark it there, then connect it from the waist to the hip with my curve, just like you can see me doing. Now blend it together like this. So for the lower part of the gown, you can tell that it is a short gown. Then the ruffle will complete the length. So from the shoulder to where the whole gown will stop is about 33 inches. So I'm going to mark that there. So I added 1 inch to make it 34 because I'm going to be pleating in my ruffle, my flounce on the lower part. So what I did is I took whatever I have on my waist, I took it on the 34-inch where the gown will stop, where the first layer of the gown will stop. Then I just blended it in. So I didn't tighten it because I want the client to be able to move the leg properly. Then since it's going to have lower ruffles, so this is what the lower part of the gown will look like. Now again, I'll use this to cut the back piece. So remember that all these I'm working on is using the stretchy part of the fabric. So you have to keep checking that you're using the part that will stretch and fit in, since no allowance is added to this. So I'll trace this out again. Remember I added 2-inch zipper allowance for this, so I'll just cut it in. Now again, go ahead to split the back into two so that your zip can sit in between that part. So this is what the lower parts of the blouse of the gown will look like. So this is the upper part, this is the half length, and then this is the down part of it. So remember that the first layer of this is just from the shoulder to the knee, so above the knee rather, which is about 33 inches. So take that measurement on your client's body while you're making yours. So this is me working on the sleeve. I have a tutorial on how to make the sleeve, so if you've not seen that, please go out and check it out. Thank you. Then for the length of this sleeve is going to be 22 inch, so I added extra 2 inch to it. Then I'll mark my upper round sleeve and then the bicep and others, then connect it together. Again, I'll be adding no allowance to this. So I'll just go ahead to connect it together. So use your ruler to connect it together. So it depends on the sleeve you are working with, but if you are working with the sleeve on the picture I displayed in the beginning of the tutorial, you can just go ahead to follow this. So this is what the sleeve looks like. Now I'll take my scissors and cut this out, and then use this to cut for another piece. So I have the two pieces I'm going to be needing. So again, take your time while cutting. So I already went out to cut it out. I have two pieces for the sleeve, then these are the pieces for the half length and then for the lower part. Now what is left for us is to work on our lower part, which is the flounce. So I have a tutorial on how I cut the flounce, so I'm going to be leaving a link to that tutorial on this video, so go ahead and check it out, guys. Now this is a little bit of it of the tutorial, so just go ahead and watch that so that it is easier for you to understand. So we're going to be using this flounce now for the lower part, for the lower ruffle. So this is the outcome here. Thanks for watching, guys. So I'm leaving another tutorial on how to sew this piece because this video is already lengthy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.